thank you for joining this webinar, where we the most of the time will spend it showing some live demoing on how we can use AI to get some data results. First of all, I want to present Random Forest. We can take the next slide. So we are, you could say, a Nordic company with offices in Sweden and Denmark, around 65 employees. Started up, 14 years ago, almost. And if we take the next one, then we can present ourselves. I'm Lars. I sit in the Aarhus office, where I've been in Random Forest for, I think it's close to 4 years, and I have a financial background. Will you say something, Mila and Carl?
Well, my name is Mila, and I work as a junior data engineer here at Random Forest.
Yeah, and myself also works as a data engineer junior here in the Stockholm office.
So we are today talking about chatting with your data, and you could ask why do we need to chat with our data? Most companies already have spent a lot of time and resources and have good solutions in BI. But what we want to talk about is sometimes these BI solutions are not actually answering all the questions that you have. So if you could take the next slide, you could say the BI is really good at answering on the questions that have already been asked. But often new questions arrive, and every time that happens, a short process is starting. We need to understand, okay, is this important? Should we prioritize it? Then it goes to the BI department's backlog, together with all the other potential requests for new reports, and increasing, you could say, the capacity gap in that department. So if you can take the next slide, then you could say normally BI answers a lot of questions, and it's also often built in a way where the users with self-service can find out about more than you can just see on the screen. But still, often there are questions that you can't find in your dashboard, and often before you know it, the next reporting period has started before you actually got to the answers from the last report. So you could say, if you take the next slide, AI is not a replacement for BI. It is actually the existing solution is actually a prerequisite for having a good AI chat solution. So you already have the foundation, the governance, the one version of truth, and that is what makes the chat trustworthy. It's not making up new numbers. It is building on your existing source of the truth. So if you take, exactly. Most of the data, the value of the data you already have is below the surface. And with AI, now we are actually enabling the users to find all the things that you can't see in the tip of the iceberg. So yeah, I will hand it over to you, Carl.
Yes, so I guess what Lars has said summarizes quite nicely into this iceberg analogy, that you have all of, like on the top, you have this answer questions, which is the Excel and Power BI reports. And then underneath the surface, you have the questions, why does the data look like this? You don't have time to build this new report that explains this. So you get a backlog of unanswered questions. As executives, you're then forced to take decisions based on gut feelings, and also in certain cases also a desire or no desire to really drive and develop new reports and stuff like that. So all this amounts to is this huge backlog of unanswered questions. So this is, I guess, where Chat with Your Data comes in, where you want to simplify things for your employees, where they directly can try to resolve these issues and directly try to use the data that you probably have in your organization. So if we want to be more data driven, how do we actually solve it? And this is Chat with Your Data. And this is together to get quick answers about your business directly using the latest chatbot models, so large language models, with the latest AI tools. So for instance, Microsoft offers stuff in Fabric and AI Foundry. There's also Snowflake and Databricks. And in this seminar, we will mainly focus on the Microsoft offerings to accomplish this. So if we want to get good answers for a chatbot, then there are two things we need. Domain knowledge is the first one, and this is crucial because you want to have some expert or person that has deep business insights to be able to provide and describe what actually entails a good answer. In some cases, data is ambiguous and stuff like that. So you need to be able to specify what actually constitutes a good answer. And this is only possible by using the domain knowledge that you already have in your organization to really formulate that on a paper or on a file or somewhere, which the chatbot can then use when trying to answer the question. And then you also have this other criteria, which is garbage in equals garbage out. So you can never really do better than the data you actually have. So if you have lots of duplicates or ambiguities in the data, or data is not clearly sorted, or a lot of other reasons why the data might be bad, then of course the chatbot will have a much harder time in actually figuring out what should be a good answer. So you basically want to have good domain knowledge so you can write or describe what you really want to get out of your chatbot. And then you want to have hopefully clean data so you can actually build something on top of it. So then I guess the next follow-up is, how do you actually build a data chatbot? So it starts, of course, with a data set. You need data to build a data chatbot. In this case, for this seminar, we have just generated a synthetic data set regarding invoices from a European e-commerce company with AR and AP data. So it's just dummy data, so we can actually build something. And there are, of course, many different tools. We said that we were focusing on Microsoft offerings today. So there is two primary tools they're offering. One is Fabric Data Agent, and the other one is AI Foundry. And we will talk more about them.
Okay, so to start off, we're going to talk about the Fabric Data Agent. And this is an agent or an LLM that operates close to your data within your Microsoft Fabric workspace. So here you can query and analyze your data. And we thought that we would take a look at the platform so that you can get a sense of how it is working with it. So if we start by navigating into our data agent, by default, the agent does not have any access to any data. So to be able to start querying your data, you need to specify what you want it to access. So here we've chosen a table in this invoices warehouse that Carl was talking about earlier. And from here on, you can actually start querying directly. However, if you want to get better results, you can configure and customize your agent more. So under agent instructions, you can tell your agent how you want it to behave. So what it should and shouldn't do, what the goal is of the agent, and if you want it to format its responses in a specific way. And then we also have data source instructions. And here you give the agent a better semantic understanding of your data. So you can explain your data set to it and try to give it some more domain knowledge. And and we also have example queries, which is just that you write a question in natural language and then the corresponding SQL query, so that it gets a good starting point on similar questions. All right, that is basically all we had to do to set up our Fabric Data Agent. So it's very quick and easy. And we thought that we could start by just asking how many countries are in the data set. As Carl mentioned, this is a e-commerce company in Europe, so we should get some different countries in Europe. Okay, and here we see that we got 11 countries. Usually when we ask question to the data agent, you can open up the response box that it generates, and then you can get the exact SQL query that the agent actually generated towards the data set. And this is great for transparency and to be able to validate the agent's answers. However, in this case, we are not getting the SQL query. There seems to be some type of bug or something going on. But we'll try again and see if we can get the exact query. Okay, this time we got it. So here, if we open up the response box, we can see the exact SQL query. All right, and as I mentioned, the Fabric Data Agent is very quick and easy to set up. However, it does have its limitations. So it can struggle with more complex queries and even simpler queries, such as if you would ask it, what is today's date? It does struggle with doing date questions or functions in SQL. And we got that it's 2024. So yeah, we will touch on these limitations a bit more further into the presentation.
All right, and Mila just explained Fabric Data Agent. So then what is this other tool, Azure AI Foundry? And this tool is like Microsoft's newest offering, which is their platform for organizing and experimenting with AI. So it features like everything you want to do with large language models, basically, and has quite nice functionalities like logging, so you can get transparency and fine tuning and other various nice integrations. For instance, it offers a Teams integration, so you can easily integrate your chatbot with Teams, which we will show a bit later. So with AI Foundry, we can actually build a chatbot, and we will use both Fabric Data Agent and Azure AI Foundry to showcase this. And the simple architecture looks something like this. So it's that the user will talk with the AI Foundry agent, which we'll deploy. And this AI Foundry agent will then connect and use the Fabric Data Agent as a tool call. This Fabric Data Agent is near the data, as Mila said, and will be able to execute queries directly against the database. And then it will return the response to the AI Foundry agent and then back to the user. So this is a very simple diagram showcasing how you can just build a chatbot. So if we go into the portal and actually show you how it looks.
Yeah, So now we are inside AI Foundry. And as we can see immediately, there are different buttons and menus to choose from. However, we'll only focus on the most basic parts for this demo. So if we start by looking at model, here we can actually choose what LLM we want it to use. Unlike in Fabric, there we couldn't really configure this. But just as in Fabric, we also have agent instructions, and we've just pasted these in to save some time for the demo, but these are the same as in Fabric. And if we scroll down, we have our tool call, which is the Fabric data agent. So the agent that's close to the data and querying our data set, basically. All right, and we thought that we would ask a few questions here as well, but we're going to navigate into preview to get a nicer interface that we're working with. So as we mentioned earlier, our data set contains lots of invoices across Europe, and we would like to understand this better. So we're going to start by just asking which countries have the highest total unpaid amount. Worth mentioning is also that AI Foundry is in preview, so sometimes it messes the answers up a bit, or something might not work as quickly as usual. So it's a bit unpredictable, but they're always like evolving AI Foundry, and they're putting a lot of time and like promoting AI Foundry. So there's definitely going to be improvements, I think. Okay, this is taking some time. We could start by maybe, I saw that there were some questions in the chat if we want to take those now.
Yeah, that sounds great. I can ask them here for you. Philip is asking, when would you use Copilot for Power BI instead of the agent? Is it more a matter of not being able to add instructions for the Power BI Copilot, or do they have different use cases in other respects?
I think, yeah, as he said, Copilot in Power BI, you can't really configure the agent that much. However, with Fabric data agents, you have the possibility to configure it a lot more, and also like specify exactly what you want it, if it's a semantic model or a specific data set you want it to query. So I don't think it's a question of like which one to use. I think you can use them both, but just different scenarios, basically.
And also with the Power BI, then you are, I guess, forced to use the data the Power BI is using. Here we can use the raw data, which is, I guess, both good and bad, but I mean, both have their purposes. So you can potentially with this get other answers that your views and such may filter away in the Power BI.
Yeah.
I guess you also, as Philip says, you can give more instructions. So I mean, that's a very powerful part as well, because if you have some like all these kind of how it should answer, it's not that you have all the semantics in the semantic model, as you might say.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got our answer here now. I think you just needed to get a refresh, but here we can see that the countries with the highest total unpaid amount, or the country, is Denmark. And if we scroll down, we should get the response generated, or the Fabric data agents SQL query, and
of course it doesn't work, but
yeah, it doesn't work. But however, with this architecture, we're still using the Fabric data agents, so the limitations that chatbot has still remain. And therefore we want to find an improved solution where we can like work around this limitation, which Carl is going to talk about now.
Yeah, so an improved architecture is to still use the AI Foundry agent and the AI Foundry as a quite a nice interface to work with. But what we instead do is replace the engine underneath. So instead of using the Fabric data agent, we are replacing it with an MCP server, which is running an open source program, where we can actually query directly against our database. And this gives us an advantage. For instance, we can customize it a bit more, but the biggest advantage is that we can actually choose which LLM model we want to use. So now we can actually use a much more advanced and newer LLM model. And there has been a lot of progress with LLMs like this last couple of years. So you really want to be able to use the latest one to be able to get like the best answer quality as possible, and for it to be able to handle more complex queries. So it will basically look the same as in the Fabric data agent, but now we've changed the engine underneath.
Yeah. And we can see here under tool calls that we've changed it from the Fabric to our MCP server. And to validate this architecture, we want to ask the same question again and see if we get the same results. So just as before, we asked which countries have the highest total unpaid amount. And we got Denmark last time, so we're expecting the same now again, if everything runs smoothly.
Shall we take a question? Oh no, it goes too fast here, I guess.
Yeah.
Bad chatbot.
Yeah. Okay, we got Denmark again, so that's perfect. We know that it's working the same way. So now we want to keep querying and dig a bit deeper into the data set and see which customers have contributed to this debt that we can see in Denmark. So which customers in Denmark have the highest unpaid amount, account receivables, as of today? Let's see if we have time for a question or if it will give us a response quickly now.
Go with a question, Gustav.
Yeah.
So next question is from Bartos. How do you define requirements for a semantic model to avoid data agents hallucinating and ensure they accurately answer user questions?
We will touch upon this, but it's basically that you need to do refinement in an iterative process. I mean, you can never really eliminate hallucinations completely with LLMs, but using, for instance, the latest LLMs, they are much more resistant or resilient to hallucinations. So just using a newer model is one way, but also to write like really clear instructions on that it should never, for instance, if it never has the data, then it should always query the data and so on. I mean, it's a bit of it's handling like a toddler almost in the sense with LLM, that you need to be explicitly clear. And if you just give it hands-free, then of course it will hallucinate in some sense. So you need to be really strict on that. Like,
I guess you can never be you can perhaps minimize it, but you can't delete it totally, right? You will still have the possibility of a hallucination.
Okay, so we got our answer from the last question. So we can see that it has listed some of the customers with the highest unpaid amount. And now we actually want to run a slightly more realistic scenario where chat with your data could add value. So let's say that Carl is a data engineer at our fictional e-commerce company. and he works at the Stockholm office, and because of data security, he should only have access to Swedish customer data. So to enforce that, we have used LLS to isolate the data. So we've enabled LLS now as we were taking the questions. And then Carl has now asked to show for the 5 most recent invoices in Denmark. And since LLS is on, he should not be able to get any data. And we can see that the data agent has returned. No rows were returned. So LLS is respected, basically. So we're going to turn off LLS now. There we go.
We can try again.
Yeah, so now we've turned off LLS and we ask the same question again. And now he should be able to see some data coming out. Perfect.
I guess this is not possible to like hallucinate from, because this is on a deeper level, the row level security.
Yes, this is in the data access layer. So the LLM is it's respecting that.
Yeah.
It can't not respect it, I guess. That's it can't go.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
Double negation.
Many negations.
Yeah.
I think Philip was asking about that, the RLS, but I guess we have answered that with your demo.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've turned off LLS now, as you can see, and now a few years have passed and things have gone so well for Carl that he has been promoted from data engineer to CFO. So he needs to be able to see all the data in Europe. So here we want to show you how you can go from questions, answers to decisions. So Carl is about to enter an important meeting and he has heard that the cash flow has been worse than usual. So he needs to quickly find out why, and he doesn't really have time to ask any data engineers or BI consultants for help. And the meeting that he is having is in Teams, and most of you are probably quite familiar with that platform. And logging into yet another portal when he's already in Teams is far too cumbersome. So luckily we can actually publish our AI agents in AI Foundry to Teams. So we can chat directly with the chatbot in a platform that everyone is quite familiar with. So Carl starts by asking a high-level question about how much debt is outstanding, so that he can be prepared for his meeting. And we recently saw that the animation here, usually it has a loading bar, but that is gone. So it's just gonna, spurt out something. So here we get that the total outstanding AR and how much of it is overdue. That is perfect. So now he wants to break that down a bit further and see what countries are responsible for this debt. So he asks which countries have the highest total outstanding AR.
You really missed the animation.
Yeah.
But for end users, they would be in Teams probably, or something like that, or a portal or web portal or something.
All right, and here we can see that Spain has the largest outstanding debt. So now it becomes relevant for Carl to find out which high-risk customers that we have in Spain, and we want to get closer towards making a decision on the insights that we've gathered from querying. So he asks, show the top overdue invoices with customer name and contact info for Spain. Right. And from this output, he can then go in to the meeting with a clear strategy on what they should do. And then he can also, Karin Schneider here can await an angry phone call from Carl reminding her to pay her invoices. All right, and that is actually everything for our scenario. But how do we now ensure that the answers that we get from the data agent are actually correct? To build trust in our agents and to feel confident making decisions based on the answers that we've gotten. Transparency is extremely important. So to meet this need, we've created a website here that you can see the historical logs from our chatbot. So here you can see how the question is interpreted, what SQL code has been generated, and the results from the SQL queries.
So you get Corin Schneider here again.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. And so, yeah, and that, I think that's it. Carl will now go through a little quick summary of what we've talked about today.
Yes. So first we showcase the Fabric Data Agent. Super simple to get started with. It only takes a couple of minutes, and basically you have your chat with your data agent ready like that. However, there are a couple of limitations. For instance, it's using an old model. It doesn't know, for instance, quite, I guess, basic stuff like date functionality and so on. So you quickly stumble upon these limitations. We also showcase that you can use Fabric Data Agent in AI Foundry, which it's a bit better experience, because in AI Foundry you can actually publish to teams and so on. But still, you really lack a powerful engine underneath. So this is where our second demo came in with the MCP server. So we are using a custom endpoint to an LLM underneath, and then we can actually use the latest AI models. And we also showcase that RLS is being respected, which is crucial for building trust and transparency, and also be able to deploy in a data sensitive organization. So this is a crucial, and also to reduce hallucinations in some sense. And we also showcase this SQL query log website we built to really get transparency into what the LLM is actually doing when you're asking a question. And this becomes a crucial tool also when you are later building a real chatbot, because with this query log or something where you can get transparency in how the LLM is interpreting the questions, then you can turn to the people with the business insight to actually look at the answers that the LLM spits out, and actually try to sit down and reconfigure and iteratively approach the answers that the LLM is spitting out, so it fits your business. And this is a really crucial step to actually getting good value from your chatbot. And with some closing remarks, you can ask yourselves, where can an AI chatbot improve your business process today? And what are the next steps basically in your data journey for your organization? This was everything from us from Random Forest.
There are a few questions still. So we can take a few questions, I guess. One question is, who do you contact if the data is incorrect? Are all possible scenarios well tested?
Data is incorrect, so you mean the chatbot is yielding?
I guess if it's giving the wrong answer in some way. How do you control that or manage that?
Well, it's a little bit like trial and error. Like, you can obviously see the SQL, the generated query that it produces. And then from that, you can tweak your instructions, or like the semantic context that you give the agent. You can also improve your example queries that we showed. Or change the LLM model. Like, you can just try to tweak it to make it better, basically.
I guess if you deploy this, you will need to log every time it is used, so you can follow if it's giving wrong answers in production as well. But I guess it will give a few wrong answers sometimes as well. That is certain. The question is how often, and you want to get the percentage down. So you need to deploy it with that in mind, to have the loggings in a good way, so everything is logged.
Yeah, like you can get started with check with your data like in a couple of minutes, but to really get good value out of it, you need to treat it as a process that you develop. So it will take some time.
So the good thing is that you have full transparency, so you can see how all the queries are made. So it's quite easy to identify if something is wrong.
So if something goes wrong, you give it more instructions for it to function next time. So we have a question about the semantic model. I guess this is not from Bartos is wondering about if you're using a semantic model, because this is not a semantic model. This is a database, a SQL database used behind, or a Fabric database or Fabric data warehouse. It might be. It's talking to the LLM is talking to a database through SQL code.
Yes.
But we have a question about if you're using a semantic model, are there any best practices for how to get that to work well with AI, like in the Fabric data agent? Can the Fabric data agent reach a semantic model?
Yeah,
perhaps
it can.
It's a start.
However, we haven't really worked with it, but I would guess that just as in when you're querying a warehouse, like give it as much like semantic context and try to label up and like just be extremely like
descriptive.
Yeah, descriptive is the word I'm looking for.
I guess it's the same with the database. You need to be descriptive with the database as well.
Yeah.
Will we get access to the recording? Henrik is asking. Yes, that I can answer directly. We have a question from Ola here. Can you describe a little what you put in the Fabric data agent instructions and the data source instructions, in particular the difference between them?
So the agent instruction is how the agent should behave in some sense. Behavior. And data source instruction is basically just describing what is in the data. So is the data invoices, or is it medical records or whatever, and maybe like what type of data? Is it strings? Is it numbers? Is it dates? Stuff like that. So
like, and a good like best practice for instructions is usually like to do it as like a markdown. So if you're talking about, I don't know, a specific behavior you want the agents to have, you write that like as one block, and then underneath you like go into the next like piece of thing that you want it to do. So like keep it structured basically in your instructions. And also it's unclear, but sometimes it prioritizes some instructions more than the others. So sometimes the order can also make a difference. So yeah, the agent instructions need to be tweaked quite a lot. You need to try different like words or synonyms, and then it might pick up better on what you're trying to say, basically.
I guess one like what you need when you set this up, you can't make it for all kind of questions on all data. It needs to be a little bit confined, or else the instructions becomes too much for the LLM. Or is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, and that's also like the general trend also in like how people approach LLMs now, that you build an agent that is tailored for one specific skill. and then you have multiple agents.
Mm.
So that seems to be you want specialists basically.
Yeah. A semantic model normally contain information on the data dependencies, KPIs. Could that be a good tool instruction for the agent? So is a semantic model, is that a good data source for the agent, or is the database better?
Yeah, it can absolutely be a wonderful description for the agent. You basically want to, if you just somehow can get it into text format so the agent can parse it, then it's golden.
I guess this is what we're showing here is when you're setting up an agent for a specific process. You have I guess we have had the questions below here about how it works if we put it in the context or like relative to Power BI Copilot. I guess that would be where you start. You start using the Power BI Copilot. When that doesn't work, you build your own specific agent for a specific process.
Yeah.
Because you have the Copilot available in Power BI as soon as you have Fabric. So that would be where you start. And when that is not enough, you do this.
Yeah.
Would that be appropriate process for trying out these kind of chatbots?
Yeah, you want to start with the lowest complexity, and then when you, I guess, reach a point where where it struggles, then you have to try something more complex. But yeah, trying the Power BI is.
And the easiest thing is just using the Copilot available, because that is no work at all. You just use the semantic model with the Copilot.
Yeah.
But this is when you have a specific, like you feel that it isn't enough. You need more instructions to the LLM. Then you need to build it with Fabric Data Agent or in Foundry, or if it should be used with multiple agents working together.
Well, even in Copilot in Power BI, you still like to get better answers from your Copilot chat. You still want to prep your data for AI, and it has different, like there is a whole section in Fabric where you can press prep data for AI, where you can give labels to your models, like change column names, do synonyms, and change relationships, and then your Copilot will give you better results as well.
One more question here from Bartos. How is row level security configured for users across the organization when we don't use the semantic model?
So I think now for this scenario, we just use the table value function for applying RLS. So I mean, standard SQL RLS rules still apply since it's directly accessing the data layer.
Yeah, so row level security, you can set that in a semantic model. It is also possible to set row level security on the database.
Yeah.
Or on the table.
So you would have it on, if you're having end users reaching your database directly, you probably would have your row level security on that level as well as on the semantic model.
Yeah, you can have both. Yeah.
So we have one more question. Magnus is asking, what is the relation to Fabric IQ and the demo you showed? I think, Magnus, we're not demoing Fabric IQ here, but we actually had one more. Just a few weeks ago, we had a demo of Fabric IQ in relation to real-time analytics. But I'd say like a short answer is the semantic model. You can use the ontology. It's like a semantic model for detailed data, and you can use that as a semantic model for this kind of agent use in different ways. So that's a possibility as well of using the Fabric IQ functionality for a chatbot. I guess that even gets more possibilities of using the semantic model, because they're changing the semantic model for being more connected to detailed data in a way, you might say. So the semantic model is prepared for agent use. But it's very. I can send you a link to that, Magnus, so you will have the. When we're trying out the new functionality there, we're doing that in just a few weeks ago. We had a real-time analytics demo of showing that. Any other questions? Lovely. It's really fun to see all these questions coming in. So it's really nice to see that you're really seeing the possibilities here. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
This when should this be used, do you think? Do you see any specific case that could be of relevance?
But isn't it like Lars touched upon in the beginning? It's not to replace BI, but it's more a complement. So it's more about like the quick answers. So if you don't have the time to probe an analyst to build this dashboard, then it's when you want to use it. Maybe not your main workhorse, but I mean, it complement. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, I guess it could also be interesting if you log the questions, and then you could see, okay, when do we really need to maybe build a new report, or when is it just like a one-time request?
Yeah.
I guess a few cases could be that you have some kind of sales representative that gets a lot of questions from customers about the business, perhaps from email, and you put an agent that can read the emails and answer from the customer's own data directly without the seller needs to do something. That's a possibility. Or with the AR case here, it could be someone taking care of the financial for someone else, and you don't have to go through the analyst every time. But it's like, as you say, I think like these kind of you have all these kind of questions where you don't ask the data because you know that it will take a few weeks to get the report, and you have a customer or something that you need to answer directly today.
Yeah.
Cool. Any last words before we close? Thank you all for listening in. You will get an email with a link to the recording of this as well. Really fun to see all the questions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you all.